Sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? Well, for those of you that have not actually caught on to what's going on there, let me tell you, what you've just seen or heard is 100% fake. Now, I'm sick to death of this particular trend, which is quite prevalent on Instagram at the minute, and it needs to stop before it kills the future of this instrument for the next generation. Now, I'm not going to name names, but it's mainly guys around my age, 26, mid-20s, that are the main perpetrators of this kind of stuff. I mean, hopefully that clip at the beginning kind of sounds familiar already. I'm sure you've heard a few players playing in that kind of style. Some of these guys you're watching have hundreds, thousands of followers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram and Facebook, with tons of comments on there, some of them very much like this. How is it possible to play that clean? When genius meets hard work. Or, you might honestly be the best guitar player alive. To which often the reply to this is, it's just tons of practice, practice, practice. Wrong. You guys are being lied to. Now, my main issue with this is not in the faking itself and all of that. It's when they are trying to sell products. Lessons, Skype lessons, CDs, merch, you name it. It's essentially fraud. And if you're buying into that, you're buying into a lie. It's happened twice now to me, where I've had a pupil send me a video of one of these guys faking this stuff, saying, oh man, have you seen this guy? He's going to be the next big thing. Or he's asked me, like, how does he do it? You know, can we go through some of that stuff? I'd love to get some of that in my playing. Well, let me show you exactly how that is done. I'm going to show you right now. So one of the ways you can do this is as follows. I'm just going to walk you through the method I used. So basically, I would actually start at 120 BPM, right the way down here. And I would record these ideas section by section. Now, some of these guys, I mean, I know they're doing it literally note for note or phrase for phrase. I've just done this as kind of like 4 bars each. Now, let's just take it back to 190 BPM. Now, from here, you can hear this is what it should sound like when it's sped up. Sounds all right. What I do, though, in order to achieve this, I'll have to work backwards. So I would double click here, I'd come down to functions, and I would use the time and pitch machine. Now, we're at 190 BPM, but like I say, I recorded this at 120 BPM. So let's just go ahead and click process and paste. Now you'll hear the actual tempo that I recorded this at. So here we go. Much easier to play. Much easier to play. Let me just undo that for the purpose now. But as you can see, I mean, that was in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different sections, if you like. I mean, all the way even down to here. Now, that's one way of doing it. Another way, which a lot of these guys I hear do, is basically using Guitar Pro, which is a transcription software, if I can show you that now. Here's just a little fake sweep idea that I used. I mean, let's take a listen. Etc. Now, what these guys would do is essentially they would export this as a MIDI file. Then they would run it through or convert it to audio and run it through a VST, like an amp sim thing. Now, a dead giveaway with a lot of these players is in the reverb that they're actually using. So I believe it's a shimmer reverb. Basically, it covers some of those details, like in the vibrato, which are dead giveaways that something's sped up. Let's see if we can identify one there. That note, for example. That is a dead giveaway that it's sped up. When you've got the shimmer reverb there, it kind of hides it, it masks it a little bit. Now, another way you could do that as well, I've noticed some guys seem to be doing, is they will duplicate the audio that they've recorded, and then on that second track, they'll literally use a whammy effect or a pitch bend thing to take it up 1 octave and then blend the two sounds together, and then you can't really tell the difference. It's the same type of effect essentially as a shimmer reverb. But that's how you'd record the audio. The difficulties will come when it comes to recording the video. So let's just open the other project then. So here we go. Now, in this project, what I would do then is essentially we have the audio here. That was originally, if you remember, at 190 BPM when it sped it up from 120. Now, if I wanted this video to look super authentic, maybe I could have recorded at 120. But for the purpose of today, I've done it at half the speed at 95 BPM. That's why maybe the video looks a little bit jumpy, whereas some of these guys, because they're only jumping that, say, 60 BPM, it's not as obvious. So anyway, what I would do then is set the tempo at half of 190, 95 BPM, slow the audio down to that, using the same process as before, or flex time, whatever you want to call it. Now, the big thing in these videos, when they try and con you that, you know, they're actually recording it live, they have to have something on the screen showing that it's recording. You know, the red little box that you'll see grow slowly as you click. You'll see it in the video, which I did. Now, all that is essentially, if I solo that audio, that's me playing it at 95 BPM. Now, that can be sloppy and full of mistakes because that's not the audio that we're going to use. We're faking it, remember? The audio which we're going to use is the original one which we speeded up in the other project. Now, all I'd do is simply merge those two things together in Final Cut. And in Final Cut, I won't show you this now for the purpose of that, but I would simply double the speed of the video and match it up to the track. That way it should sync. If I've recorded at 95 BPM, all I need to do with my video file is take it to 200% playback speed and it will sync up. Obviously it's a bit jarred and we can take a look at things to watch out for now. So let's take a look at the sped up version of the video first so that we can look at some dead giveaways of how this is being sped up and how you can identify this when you see it on Instagram or YouTube or, you know, social medias. So let's just watch through. So the first giveaway for me straight away with all of these kind of style of videos is the right hand movement. That's what you should be focused on. Obviously here I recorded this at 95 BPM when I was videoing it rather. But on the actual recording I did it at 120. Now I did that for the sake of video editing purposes. It just makes it a little bit easier just to be able to double the speed. Whereas if I'd have maybe recorded myself playing it at 120, some of these movements would look a lot less jarred, which is what's going on a lot of these Instagram videos. Now, talking about the right hand there, the way it looks so jarring, these kind of dead notes, these, I guess it will be eighth note triplets at 190 BPM. There's only maybe one guy, couple of guys on the planet that I know that can do that at that speed with that consistency. I mean, Guthrie Govan is one of them. There's very few other people that can actually make that sound good, especially with all these other things going on. It's just another level of technique. But yeah, that's the first thing to watch out for. Any of this crazy funky rhythm stuff, it's a dead giveaway for me. Another thing to watch out for then, let's take a look. The movement of the hair now on the body as well, it's just so unnatural. Again, if I'd recorded this maybe at a slightly higher tempo, the 120 BPM, you wouldn't maybe notice this as much. The problem is, with hair, it's a dead giveaway because this moves so quickly. Now, a lot of these guys these days, especially the heavy metal guys, don't necessarily have the long hair anymore. It's the short hair or it's in a cap. So it's more difficult to tell, but just watch out for awkward movements. To me, it looks like the film The Ring. I don't know whether you've ever seen that, where she just moves in such an unnatural way. It's the same kind of thing. Let's carry on anyway. Let's look for more giveaways. Again there, straight away, the right hand, to be able to pick all those notes at that speed is next level. I certainly can't do it at 190 BPM. I had to do it at 120. Another thing to point out here, I mentioned it earlier, is the little red screen in the background. That's supposedly showing you that I'm recording in, which technically I am at 95 BPM. But a lot of these guys will use this to try and say, look, it's a live take. It's a little bit like the Guinness Book of Records stuff where guys were playing Flight of the Bumblebee. And what they were doing was essentially layering an image of a clock that was at, you know, the normal second counter. But again, it's to throw you off. It's to make you believe that, hang on a minute, they are actually doing this. There's no way this can be fake. Let's carry on. Again, crazy head movements and finger movements. It just doesn't look natural at all. At all. Now that is the dead giveaway. It's the vibrato. It sounds nasty. If you think that vibrato sounds good, I would suggest to check you hear it. You know, to me that sounds absolutely nasty. But anyway, what a lot of those guys will do though is for anything that's a long note, they will always leave it at a normal speed, that kind of recording. So I actually did this later on when I noticed that the whammy bar movement looked incredibly weird. I basically set it back to the 95 BPM that I've recorded it, or the normal speed of the video, which you can see there. Now, another thing to be wary of is there are guys that can do this, but it's the sweep harmonic thing now, or just the kind of tapping harmonics, I guess, or faux, I don't know what you want to call that, where you play, was it waterfall harmonics? I don't know the technical term. That is so easy to fake because it's not a fret. You know, with the left hand, you can clearly see what fret I'm on. It's just, I'm on the 8th fret there. Whereas the right hand, those harmonics, you can kind of jump around and people aren't going to notice unless you've got a keen eye. I mean, to me, that looks super fake. A lot of these guys, they are clever with the video editing. They can make this look natural. It's just these little details that you need to look out for that will kind of tell you where the fakery is going on, you know. I do want to point out with a lot of these videos, if you slow them down, you'll actually see that the audio and the video don't sync up because they can't necessarily play this anywhere near the speed that they're putting it out there. You know, a lot of the time I'll see like tapping things that are literally, when you slow it down, they're like a millisecond away, or they're, you know, a second away in some. It's that obvious. But if you're not really paying attention, you're just using your ears, you might think that that's totally legit, and that's my issue with it. Anyway, I think my main point is that real guitar should never sound like this, and that's the beauty of it. It's the little beautiful imperfections that make the guitar what it is. You should be hearing string noise, you should be hearing fluctuations in pick attack. You know, bends aren't always 100% accurate. Think of the blues guys, when they bend that minor third into the major third, that's not perfectly in tune, but that's what makes it so cool. What makes me really sad amongst all of this is that there are actually guitar players out there that really are pushing the boundaries in terms of technique. Guys like Rick Graham, Guthrie Govan, Steven Sorrento, you know, Andy James, guys like this that can legitimately play like that. You know, they have spent hours and hours and hours of practice and study to get to that level. And then these guys are coming along and it's literally a case of, I mean, obviously you have to put some time into your video editing skills and your audio editing skills, but really, you are literally lying to the people. You are selling yourself as if you are technically more proficient on the instrument than you actually are. Now, I do want to say that I have zero issues with people miming to things like music videos or even like product demonstrations. I get it, that's what we have to do sometimes. Or if someone genuinely said, listen, I'm using this as a composition tool, you know, fair dues, but be transparent about it and be authentic. Don't try and blag these people that what you're doing is actually real and live in the room. Now, these fake videos are just a small part of a massive problem that I think boils down to what I want to call the influencer generation, my generation, essentially. On Instagram, there are tons of these types of videos. I mean, like metal players speeding up, sweep picking and alternate picking stuff. Neo soul guys miming to super produced tracks, saying that they've just made this in the past 20 minutes or so. Guys claiming they're improvising when they're really not. That's a little pet hate for me. When you get to a certain level, you can see that a solo is composed, which I have no issue with if you're just transparent about it. That is the best solo that you made over that track. Fair enough, but don't try and belag that it's improvised. I mean, guys waking up saying, oh, just woke up, here's me practicing this morning, when they've in reality been trying for 9 hours to nail that perfect 1 minute clip. The final one for me is the guys doing the like crazy sweeped tapping harmonic thing that's just so obviously overproduced and edited. It's crazy. I mean, there are guys that can actually do that, but it's few and far between. It's all utter rubbish. Now, people are transparent about that, again, it's fine, but it's this whole idea of, you know, the Photoshop generation. Everything has to look a certain way. We pretend that, you know, everything's perfect. All snapshots create this ideal imagery of what our lives we think look like. I can guarantee that a lot of these guys that you're seeing who are faking this stuff or saying this stuff are probably quite average to maybe good guitar players, but certainly not at the level they're presenting themselves at. They'll do anything in this influencer generation to make themselves stand out from the rest, except practice. That's my whole point. The fact that people buy into this and support it really, really does worry me for the future of the instrument. Now, you may just think that this is solely videos or pre-recorded videos, you know, in people's houses or in people's studios. Let me tell you, last night I was linked to a video of a certain band. I won't say the name, let me just say there's a planet in there somewhere. The link is in the description if you want to check this out. So here we have a guy claiming to be playing live in front of an actual audience at a gig where, you know, they're all cheering him on, they're putting him on a pedestal as he's playing these crazy sweep arpeggio ideas with tapping and stuff like that. When I say playing, let me describe more in detail. Sure, if you see it, guys who have got a keen eye will spot this immediately. Now, in this video, this is a guy claiming to be playing live in front of an actual audience at a gig. And there's people screaming and cheering at him, you know, putting him on this pedestal, he's flicking his hair, all this kind of stuff. Now, what you're actually seeing in this video is a guy with either his amp switched off, if they're using an amp in this case, or his volume rolled completely down. And over the PA, what you can hear is a guitar profile playing, basically. It's these crazy sweeps like I showed you earlier on. Now, having spent hours in Guitar Pro transcribing things, I can tell you I recognise straight away that distortion guitar preset sound. It's just so obvious. So this guy is literally stood on a stage miming to a Guitar Pro backing track, something that he's not even played in real life ever before, and people are loving it, people are buying into it. You know, it's beyond me. It's like a DJ turning up to a gig with a USB stick, or even better, a Spotify playlist, and, you know, like standing there over a pair of decks faking that he's mixing things. It's just cringe-worthy. He might as well be stood on that stage with an accordion, for God's sake. But again, the sad thing is, people are buying tickets for these shows, people are buying merch, people are buying their CDs, guitar companies are endorsing them, labels are giving them deals. Like, what is wrong? This is fraud. Now, I totally get it if you know that this is fake and you're just going to see this for kind of the show that it is. Is it theatre? Is it pantomime? No, is it acting? But most of these people don't realise that, and they refuse to be educated on the subject. That's the whole point of this video. I want these guys to just be transparent with their audience. I mean, if that's ever going to happen. Now, sorry, but anyone who understands just a little bit of theory or harmony can write arpeggios and 30-second notes at 240 BPM in Guitar Pro. It took me 20 seconds to do that example before. This would be the outcome. Seriously, are you paying for that? You know, yeah. It brings me on to the point that there are tons of guitarists out there that are pushing the boundaries or already have, you know, over the years. I don't need to talk about the great without the need to fake it, basically. Whether that be metal stuff, technique stuff, blues playing, neo soul, you know, funk R&B, country even. There's so many guys that are actually legitimate players out there. I just want to list some of these now for some of you younger players that maybe are looking, hang on a minute, who is real? I want to list, these are the guys that influence me, these are the guys that I watch a lot, steal ideas from, you know, just, yeah, they are the pinnacle of guitar playing, for me at least at the minute, you know. So we have guys like Mark Lettieri, Guthrie Govan, Isaiah Sharkey, Alex Hutchins, Andy James, Rick Graham, Martin Miller, Tom Quayle, Eric Gales, Josh Smith, Jake Wilson, Stephen Taranto, Nick Johnson, Matthias Osato, Andre Nieri, Per Nielsen, Aaron Marshall, Alan Hines, Jakub Zaiteki, Tosin Abassi, John Mayer, Pierre Danel, Quentin Godet, Simon Peter King, David Maxim Michich, Brian Shue, Al Joseph, Daniele Guttardo, Andy Timmons, Joey Landreth, Ariel Posen, Jason Richardson, Jared James Nicol. I mean, the list could go on, and I'm sorry if I've missed some of those there. There's just so many of these guys that are actually inspiring and pushing the boundaries. There's no need for fakery. So I've not really mentioned many jazz or fusion guys there, but I mean, I think it would be pretty pointless if people were faking or speeding up, you know, Ben Unison lines or Jonathan Kreisberg lines. I mean, that's beyond their understanding, the guys who are doing this. They're not necessarily on that musical level. It just makes me think, I would love to see these Instagram fakers that are put on this pedestal sit in a room with any of those guys that I've just mentioned here above, you know, especially if they really believe that their playing is of that level. It would just be embarrassing. Or maybe they can do an actual live tee with clicks, no guitars on track, no backing track. But alas, that's never going to happen. If they could do that, I'd be the first to put my hands up and say fair play. But we know that in the past people have put up these videos where the guitar is at an extremely inaudible level and there's guitars on track that are super loud and they mime and nothing syncs up, but still people believe it. I just don't get it. Now, I know the common counter argument for a lot of this fake stuff is usually to say that it's the artist's idea, it's the artist's vision, you know, he's a composer and stuff like that. That's all well and good if you compose solos or, you know, if you write for other instruments like programming drums or things like that. Yeah, fair dues, because you're honest and transparent about it. You are not putting up a video of you sitting there playing the best clarinet solo you've wrote into Logic, you know, or the best drum solo. This is where the issue is different. You are literally miming guitar, not telling your audience that it's fake, it's sped up, and people believe that you are this technically proficient. I mean, how do you even like comprehend that? How do you see yourself in your head? Do you really think that you're at this level? For those of you out there that are actually doing this and you are a fake guitarist, shame on you, man. Like this, you ruin it. Now, some of you guys may be thinking like, Jack, why are you bothered? You're a professional musician, you earn your money through music, you know, like it doesn't affect you. Like, what's the point in getting annoyed about it or upset? Well, let me tell you, it does directly affect me. I have messages from well-established guitar players, guys that you will know and you will think of as amazing players, messaging me, telling me that when they open Instagram and they scroll through, they feel like quitting because of this pressure to be perfect and fake. You know, just the level that's presented on there is not real. For those of you that know me, you'll know that I actually quit social media for almost 2 years because of mental health problems. Now, I'm not saying that this was the main cause of it, but certainly this added to it in a massive way. Opening Instagram and seeing a guy I've never heard of playing this crazy stuff that, you know, at first I wasn't clicking on that it was all faked or that it was mined, because you read it and you believe it, you honestly think that these guys are legitimate. When pupils of mine send me these videos, I shouldn't have to explain to them that it's not real and it's not attainable. At certain points, I have actually thought to myself, what was the point in all of these years of practice and study, you know, to get better at my instrument, to absorb phrasing, to absorb musical language, if I can just put together a track like this in, you know, half an hour? Should I be teaching my pupils that? You know, like, that's the way to go, that's the future of guitar. You just need to fake it, man. Of course, I would never do that. I always want to be authentic and transparent with you guys. What you hear is what you get, warts and all. You must have heard in my improvisation videos that there are mistakes there, there's string noise, but that's what makes it real. Everyone makes mistakes. I make a ton of them. Even guys like Guthrie going, they make mistakes. We're all human. But like I say again, that's what makes the instrument beautiful in my eyes. It's the little discrepancies, it's the fluctuations in pick attack, it's the vibrato, it's the bends being slightly out of tune. That's what makes it sound cool, to me at least. I mean, you might disagree, you might think that this fake stuff sounds cooler. That's fine, but be authentic and be transparent. Know that that is totally fake. What I'm basically asking from you guys then is question what you see. You know, with stuff like this, I think the guitar community really needs to come together, no matter what style or whatever. It needs to be stamped out. Nobody is perfect. Transparency and authenticity is always key. We need to talk about this openly and hopefully put a stop to this before it becomes the new norm. If this carries on, I honestly think it will kill the instrument. Why would people want to spend hours and hours in practicing to be at a certain level if, you know, like, these guys are going to have a way bigger audience than the guys who actually put in the work and actually graft and actually care about the instrument, care about composing, care about improvisation, all of these things. You should not think that you have to fake it in order to get recognition. Now, before the end of this video, I'd really like to thank Levi Clay. He is the original dude with the guts to actually call these guys out in the first place. You know, he's been doing this for years now. This isn't something new, it's actually been going on for quite a while on YouTube especially, but on Instagram now it's just so prevalent at the minute. And I'm glad that guys like, you know, some of my personal friends and heroes, even when it comes to guitar, like Andy Wood, Ben Ella, Chris Fina, you know, Chris Tarchek, you guys are speaking about it and I'm happy, but more people really need to speak out about it. Levi has some awesome videos over on his channel pointing this stuff out, you know, how these guys actually do it. He's not afraid to be brutally honest about it, which I love about him. So please check the link in the description to his channel, check out his videos, check out Guitar Souls as well. I love listening to those two guys talk about stuff. It makes me happy. It's the words of truth that the guitar community needs a lot of the time. Also, please go and check out Leon Todd's great video on this subject named, I think it's Fake Shredder's Hot Take. That link is also in the description as well. I mean, I'm just glad that people are actually starting to talk about this rather than being worried, because these guys have, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers and stuff like that. It needs to stop. Many thanks if you made it all the way through the video. I know I've ranted, but I needed to get this out of my system. Thanks again, guys. If you like this video, please do like and subscribe. I'm off. Adios. Ciao.